Hi, it's Kathy with the Vitality Code, and I am having an end of an era moment. Have you ever had one of those where life as you know it has been going along, and then all of a sudden that internal call comes for change, and it's time for the end of an era? Sometimes we listen right away. Other times that voice goes on and urges us to make the change for quite some time. I'm actually experiencing one of those right now. And I just posted about it on Facebook. I'm going to have to save this picture. That's a picture of me having that moment when I recognize for sure that this is the end of an era. For me, and what I was talking about on this was that I've had my business, Basil Marketing Events, for 16 years, and it's been an amazing ride. It's been full of ups and downs. It's been full of its challenges. I've had amazing adventures along the way, met some amazing people, wonderful places. I got to hold some pretty extravagant events, like some of my favorites in Atlantis and the Bahamas, glorious banquets under the stars at this gorgeous resort. I was doing golf tournaments and traveling to some of the best tournaments and meeting pros and putting on lavish events during those times. More recently, I've been doing conferences for associations of people, kind-hearted people, and these big conferences, and just orchestrating all the different moving parts that really brings me alive. But it's also been a time, at the same time, about 6 years ago, I had a calling to begin my coaching because it was inspired after my mom had her tragic end with a stroke, and I recognized I wanted to help people learn to create health and live vibrant, meaningful, connected, just joyful lives. And I've been doing this 6 years now with a foot in both pools. So I was holding on to the security of having my known and very reliable income through my events, and for many good reasons. And yet at some point in time, the calling gets louder, and it's time for me to let go of that. So I just completed my last conference I'll ever plan. And I have to tell you, it's rife as I let go. There's all kinds of unknowns in the future. And so I wanted to take this moment to share with you, because that's why I'm here, is to help you make transition into the bigger life that's calling you in a way that change can be fun and exhilarating. It can be an adventure. And so I'm going to share over the next few weeks the anatomy of change and how I'm planning to go about orchestrating my own change in a way that becomes in alignment with my soul's calling. So I'm going to share 6 quick tips right now, 6 stages, if you will, that I'm exploring for myself. I'm moving through myself, and this is what I do in my 10-week program with women, La Femme Salon. It's all about becoming that next version of you that is ready to express this more exciting, daring next chapter. So the very first step is to listen. Sometimes we just need to take the time to get quiet and listen. This past year for me has definitely been the cosmic kick in the pants to kind of get quiet and realize that it was just time for me to let go, time for me to step boldly into this next vision that's kind of been calling me. And I've been kind of half-assing it, if you will. It's time for me to go, I say it, time for me to go 2 cheeks in. So I'm declaring that for myself. The second is you got to give yourself time to grieve and feel the sadness, because there was a lot of joy, a lot of success, a lot of wonderful connections that came from that. And then at the same time, there's other emotions that come up. There's emotions of fear and uncertainty. This is part of this divine feminine. The change that I'm oftentimes talking about, this divine feminine, is calling for us to take steps in the direction that we're being called before we know that we're going to have success. So what is that fear, and how can we reframe that fear to be exhilaration? What if it's just exhilaration because we don't know what it is, where this is truly leading, and yet we are driven to take that next first bold step? So join me as I'm going to follow along and share my steps that I take with you. The next thing that I've done is carved out time to get in touch again deeply with my values. What do I stand for? And what is my vision? So this vision kind of what, I want to create, but then like what would happen if you amplify that by a factor of 10? If you blew that desire up to a factor of 10 to the point where it's a kind of like they say, that big, hairy, audacious goal, what is yours? And so my values are very much around creating oneness. I'm all about freedom, adventure, creativity, connection. I'm all about helping people to become more of themselves and divinity and evolving consciousness. I'm about just creativity and curiosity. So these are the values that I'm stepping into wholeheartedly. So how do I become that next version of me that is the walking, talking embodiment of this bold vision that I'm calling forth? The next step is some of my favorite work that I do with clients is then we need to go back and reframe the past. We need to up-level our own paradigm or our vision of who we know ourselves to be. Up until now, I've been operating at a certain level. How much confidence do I have? How big of a vision do I see I'm capable of stepping into? Now it's time for me to elevate that vision. And with that, there's some what I call improper prior programming. Those childhood stories, maybe it's the well-intended advice of be safe and, become like my dad told me to become an accountant because the world always needs accountants. It was well-intended advice, but guess what? All this stuff is collected in the subconscious, and it's kind of the tickies that keep us from stepping wholeheartedly into this next vision. So the emotion code is the process, one of the many processes that I use to release that. I'm doing it on myself, and I'm connecting with mentors and others who can facilitate me in letting go those old stories of not worthiness and who are you and self-doubt and those things that would limit our ability to create. That I call it creative insecurity. So let go of the insecurities. Get frank with who you need to be. Who is the you who is having it all, this new vision that you're creating. The next is to create that plan, the plan of action. If you plan to fail or you fail to plan, you are planning to fail essentially. So what is the plan? How are you going to show up? What will you do? Who will you speak to? And what would you say? What is it that if life is not from an egoic standpoint, these are almost like spiritual inquiries that you ask yourself of what is expressing through me. Life is happening as a statement through you. It's a creative force that's expressing through you. And I know it's a big challenge of mine because I've been a planner for so long. A lot of times I'm using that tickies, very smart, intuitive, the planning capabilities. And now it's time for me to create from a different place, this heart space that is calling me forth. What is yearning to be expressed through me? How do I use my gifts and talents, and how do I bring those to the world in a bigger place? And then I like to say, grow an outrageous love affair with this vision, with the you who is having it all. Get in outrageous love with this vision, come fully alive to this vision, and begin to celebrate the many ways in which it's showing up already, because it already is. The old adage of ask and it is given has been in operation in your life for many years. So it has already begun to be revealed to you, and we have just failed to look for the many ways in which it is because we are afraid to step into such a big, bold, audacious view of ourselves and the life that we know we could have. And then lastly is to create the environment for success. I fell upon the words culture. In corporations, they talk about corporate culture. So how will you create your own culture of success? What will your physical environments look like? Who are the teammates around you, whether they're working for you, whether they're mentors, are there classes, are there ways in which you need to grow? What are those teachers you need to call forth into your life to help you become that person who is having it all? So again, this is the process I plan to take myself through. This is the same process I take women through that have such great breakthroughs in their lives in La Femme Salon. And I'm going to be sharing this with you over the next 6 weeks, kind of journaling along so that you can see how I've grounded deeply into this process, and you might consider how you can try this on for yourself. So this is Kathy Basil signing off. I'll put some links below so you can find the progression of this conversation, and I hope for yourself that you are finding yourself at a crossroads, an end of an era, and boldly ready to step into the next era calling you.